first thing we need to do is obviously launch the Reflection app. Once it's launched, it's hard to tell that it's doing anything. The only thing you can really see is in the top left corner, the menu bar has changed. Now there is something in the menu bar that does look like it has to do with video mirroring, but that's part of the Mountain Lion operating system and has nothing to do with Reflection. Before I can demonstrate anything, I'll have to turn on video mirroring on the iPad. Now you can't watch me do this, so I'll demonstrate it after we get it going. Now that we can see the iPad, the way you activate it is you actually have to double click the home button, which brings up the fast app switcher. Now if you swipe that to the left, you'll reveal some audio controls. There's also an AirPlay menu in here. When you tap that, you'll reveal all your video options. Now you'll see the iPad in there. I've got a Mac Mini at my house, and on the bottom that's my MacBook Air. You'll see that selected. Below that you'll see a video mirroring toggle switch. Turning that on and off turns off video mirroring. Once it's running, it simply mirrors whatever your iPad sees. If you launch Safari, do a web search, start browsing, what you see on your screen on the iPad will show up on your monitor. If you turn your iOS device to landscape, it changes the orientation on your screen. It also broadcasts the audio source. So if I were to launch YouTube, you would hear the audio from the YouTube video on your computer. Now, one cool thing that Reflection can do that an Apple TV can't do is it can actually mirror multiple sources at the same time. I brought a few iPads from work and decided to see how many video sources I can mirror at the same time. I could see this being used in the classroom because you can project 4, 5, or 6 video sources at the same time, having kids working at their desk, and the teacher can kind of see, or the class can see, what they're really working on and how they're progressing. I could see this working maybe in math, where instead of having 4 or 5 kids coming to the whiteboard and working out a problem, they could actually sit at their desk, the images could be projected on the screen, and then the teacher could decide which student came up and shared how he or she solved the problem. Let's see if I can get 5 or 6 YouTube videos to play simultaneously.
What is that mysterious ticking noise?
Well, that was silly. I doubt you'll ever do that in a classroom. But one thing that does set Reflection apart from anything else is that it does allow you to actually record the screen that is being mirrored, and that's something that's unique to Reflection. So instead of needing a program like Screencast or Camtasia, you can do it actually within here. And once the source is recorded, you can actually take that movie file, put it into iMovie, put on your own narration, and make your own little iOS screencast tutorials. One thing to note is that when you are doing a recording of the iOS device's screen, you're not going to get the audio from your voice, you're going to get the audio from the device. And once you're done, it'll ask you to save the file as a simple QuickTime movie. The quality of the video file is actually quite good, and there's so many programs that can use a QuickTime file, there's really almost no limit to what you can do. The last thing I'm going to do is go through the Devices menu and show you all the ways you can personalize this program. You can obviously go full screen. That's going to actually darken out or obscure the desktop pattern. You can actually close connection. Close connection is just a fancy word for closing that window. So if you had multiple instances or multiple devices on the same monitor, you could close one of them. You can go always on the top. You can show the frame. That's that graphical representation of what the iPad front looks like, or if you had an iOS device like an iPhone or something like that, you would see a smaller frame. You can actually make the frame black or white depending on your cosmetic preference. You can turn recording on or off. You can also lock the orientation to be either portrait or landscape. I know I said I'd cover device settings last, but I forgot to talk about Reflection preferences. Under preferences, you've got a way to optimize the device for a certain resolution. You can actually change the name of your computer, how it appears in the AirPlay menu. So let's say you want to assign maybe a name like your room number or science lab or something like that. There's also a way to assign a password that'll prevent students in other classes from maybe pulling pranks and getting into hijinks of trying to take over your LCD projector with content that you don't want to see and surprise you. There's a way to make it by default to connect to a full screen view instead of having little windows. There's also a way to give it a solid colored background. So that completes my review of the application Reflection. It's available for download online and costs $14.99 for a single user license. If you're still undecided, there is a trial period, so you can take it for a spin. It just might be what you're looking for.